is, we can, oh, you know what, I forgot about that last one. That's one precious one. So I just was feeling a little tired one day, and I don't know if you could see it very well, but I was just sitting there, just tired, and he just came up into my lap, and he literally held my hand, which is so weird. So he kind of he took my hand and then put his other paw on top of mine, and he was just there and relaxed. Didn't want me to pet him, didn't want anything. It was just there for me. And I turned out 2 days later, I found out that I had COVID. And so, but he knew that I had something going on that was not right before I knew it. But he just came there to comfort me and take care of me, and I'm just letting him know I'm not alone, and he was there for me. And I know, my crazy little dip cat. So, my warrior, my tender caregiver, it's amazing how much these, Dot with Russell, and we know we love Cheyenne. Cheyenne's a famous dog around here too. So, it's amazing what we'll do for our pets. They're pretty demanding of our time and demanding of our money, but we'll put out money, we'll put out time, we'll go to special stores to get all their little special treats that they want, and we'll do so much for them. But this is what God wants to offer to us. He wants the same devotion. He wants the same time from us. He wants everything. So if we can go. And I just want to talk about how he called himself the Good Shepherd. This is from a series that we did in youth, the 7 I am statements of Jesus. So between John 8 and 10, he makes these 7 statements to tell people who he is. And so just to set the scene, so Jesus during this time, he has went to Jerusalem, he has went to the temple. So here he is with religious people. They've been to the temple every day. These are people that were devoted to God. He has spent these days there going back and forth with the Pharisees. The Pharisees have been trying to catch him. It's when he heals the blind man, and they're like, well, you did that on the Sabbath. How could you do that? Well, he healed you. Didn't you want to pay attention to that? But he's trying to trick them, and the woman with adultery comes, and they're like, you can't forgive sin. I mean, they have just worked so hard through all of this to catch him and to denounce him and to try to spread that he is actually demon-possessed instead of being someone from God. And so here he is there, and he talks about how he is the shepherd. That he is, and the shepherds in the time, a shepherd in the Bible times you can put the first one up. Shepherds were a cornerstone of the economy there. It was, let me put this in. A shepherd provided food for the people, even though they were in the city. Us city people, we don't, I'm not a big farm person. I don't, I've been to them. I appreciate them because I like my meat. So, sorry, vegans. But I enjoy, a good steak on the thing, I had a lamb burger not that long ago, so sorry. But they were integral to the economy. Besides the meat, they were also provide, wool for their clothes, milk, different oils that they could get from the sheep and the thing. And so they knew that a shepherd, even though the hired hands were considered lowly, but the shepherd was the owner. This is the one who owned the sheep, and they were very, very important to this society. You can go to the next. A shepherd would protect his flock, but he always had to be ready to go. So a shepherd would always have to be on guard, be on lookout. They would have to be willing to fight whatever enemy would come. When wolves, bears would come, the lions would come in the Bible, we know all that, and so they'd have to be ready at any point to fight and to lay down their life for their sheep. They'd also have to, though, at the same time, be gentle. They'd have to care for these little sheep, especially the little baby ones. They'd have to pick them up sometimes and take them, but they had to be stern and strict about, this is where you need to go, because I want the best for you. I want want you to be protected. I want you to be under my protection at all times. And so this is where we need to go. They couldn't just wander off aimlessly. The next is they would have to, like I was saying, they would guide and provide. I love that. Guide and provide. They would always need to take them to the best, find out where the best grasses were. So they were doing their research. These were smart people too. So they were rough and tough. They were smart. They were strategic in how that they would, where they would take their sheep at what time, where they would go. Because if they fed them bad things, if they provided bad grass or none at all, or bad water, or water that was not accessible, then the sheep would be malnutritioned, and then which would then also affect the meat and the wool that were helping society. So this was this ongoing thing. The shepherds were so important. And the last one, that they were committed. They could go out for weeks, days, weeks, months out, depending on where they would need to take their sheep. They were committed to lay down their life. They were committed to spend the time and the resources and everything they had to take care of these sheep so that they could produce what everybody in the town needed after that. So that's the sheep. That's where Jesus, so when Jesus started to talk about, this was about how he was the good shepherd, they could relate with that. This was something that made sense for them. This was something, the shepherds were integral to their lives. They needed the shepherd to do their job so that they could live their lives. So when Jesus says, so we're going to look at John 10. So we're only going to look at John 10. So if you want to do your Bibles, it'll all be up here behind me. John 10, 11 through 13. So he declares to them. So remember, he's talking to religious people. He's talking to the Jews or anyone that had gathered around, but it was by the synagogue. He's telling them, I am the good shepherd. And not only was the shepherd part of their everyday society, but they would have known the law. They would have known the history. They would have relied on David and how they would have known Psalms 23. The Lord is my shepherd. So all these things spoke to them. They could relate this, how God was a shepherd, how important that shepherds and sheep were, in their society. And so he says, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd sacrifices his life for the sheep. A hired hand will run when he sees a wolf coming. He will abandon the sheep because they don't belong to him. He isn't their shepherd, and so the wolf attacks them and scatters the flock. The hired hand runs away because he's working only for the money and doesn't really care about the sheep. How many people tries to tell us, there we go. They want to come and they want to say, this is the right way to do things. This is what is acceptable in society. All these different voices that we hear. But really when it comes down to it, they'll just run away. We are not their priority. They are not willing to lay down their lives for us. They're not willing to sacrifice for us. Talking with the kids, I'm the children and youth pastor, for those who don't know, especially talking to the youth, and they have these teachers that tell them, pick whatever gender you want to be. This is just, they're putting birth control, in them at the schools. It's just amazing the things that they talk about, how, homosexuality and transgenderism and all these different things, that this is the right thing. And they encourage them and they say, this will make you feel so much better if you just give in to these feelings or whatever that you have going. And but the teachers, then they go home and they're done. They leave them with these messages and then no direction, no commitment, no sacrifice for them. And it is a hard place, because these are people that they are supposed to respect, people they're supposed to be listening to. They're hired hands. There's people, we literally hire them to teach our children and to do these things. But God said, I'm here to sacrifice for you. I'm never going to leave you. When I tell you where to go and what direction to go in, I am willing to lay down my life for you. I will never leave you or forsake you. I will be with you every step of the way. follow me, follow my direction, and I will keep you safe. But if anything comes along, I will be there, and I'll take them out. Those shepherds, they had their staves. I always picture them like doing ninja moves with their staves. I don't know, so doing their little moves, because they have no problem doing that. And God will do that for us. He is there we know that he laid down his life for us. But the sacrifice wasn't just dying on the cross. We always look forward to that. Oh, well, he sacrificed his life. Well, he sacrificed his life by coming to earth. Where was he before he came here? He was in heaven, the place we dream of being. Our blessed hope that one day we get to be with God and can worship him at his feet. Well, that's where Jesus was, standing at the right hand of the Father. With his, this was his home. And he said, I am going to sacrifice everything. I'm giving up everything to go down and to be with our children, with our sheep, with the people that we created and loved and have a plan and a purpose for. I'm going to go down, and I'm not going to just show up as an adult and just tell them stuff. I'm going to come down as a little baby. I am going to live a life. I am going to show them that it is possible, that God will be with me every step of the way, the same as he will be with you. Everything that Jesus went through, as he obeyed his parents growing up, as he learned everything, as he went to school, as he became he apprenticed to have a career. He was the carpenter's son. He would have worked every day. He would have went to school every day. He had, responsibilities and things the same as we do. All these pressures that we have on us, he also had on him. He grew up as a person, with God, fully God, fully man on the outside. With parents to obey and a life to live. And he laid all that out for us so that not only that we could, we needed that perfect sacrifice to die on the cross for us, but we also needed someone to say, I have sacrificed every day of my life here for you. Everything that I've went through was for you. You can do it too. There is nothing that you can go through. There's nothing that he hasn't experienced too. He was raised, at some point we know that Joseph died. He just disappears out of the narrative of the Bible. So he was raised with a single mother. He had half-brothers and sisters. Things that we can relate to. But it was still perfect. It was still wonderful. God was still in the midst and carried, and the love that Jesus and Mary they had with his mother, and that family bond that he had with his brothers and sisters was beautiful. But all these things that he has laid down his life for us to sacrifice. Everyone else, all the other people that come in our lives and say, this is what you should do, this is what you need to do. That might be good advice, but in the end, they also go back to their lives. They run, sometimes when troubles are bad, we have friends that have run away. So they like to be fair weather friends, Some only like to be there when we have trouble. It's kind of a weird thing, but they don't like to be there when we have good. But Jesus is always there. If we can go to the next. So, in John chapter, we're still in John 10, 14 through 16, our second point is that he says to them, I am the good shepherd again. So if they didn't get it, they've been asking him questions this whole time. All through these 3 chapters, they're like, just tell us who you are. One woman literally says, are you the Messiah? Can't you just tell us? And he's like, I've been telling you. But they wanted it to, I don't know what they wanted sometimes. I don't know what we want sometimes, right? But he tells them again, I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and they know me. Just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father, so I sacrifice my life for the sheep. I have other sheep too, that are not in the sheepfold. I must bring them also. They will listen to my voice, and there will be one flock with one shepherd. So, the Father, he has known you since before the creation of this world. You have been in his plan. You have had a plan and a purpose for your life from before, as they say, a twinkle in your parents' eye. He has known you. I want to go back to that you don't have to go there, but that picture of Dip out there on the prowl. He's an outdoor cat, very much so. And he, one night it was last summer, just sitting in the living room, windows were open, and I hear this hissing sound, this horrible hissing sound. And I know we have a lot of raccoons in our neighborhood. And I just recognize, oh, there you go. Oh, there you are. Thank you. And I just heard this hissing, and then I hear this, meow. And I'm like, I knew that was Dip. We have a lot of cats in our neighborhood too, but I know my cat, And so I ran to the door, and I flung the door open, and I was like, Dip! And I hear this, you can hear this just tearing through, and then like a second later, Dip comes running through and straight through the back of the house. I don't even know where it went, but he just kept going. He was looking for safety. But I knew his voice though, just from the darkness, couldn't see him, couldn't know, but I knew who my cat was. And he knew my voice. As soon as I yelled out his name, it was like split second before he come running. Can I tell a little Isaac story? Just a little one. It's an okay one. So I don't like to tell when he's here, but we also live, we have a park across the street. That's why there are a lot of animals and stuff. But the grade school is also just right over there, and there's a playground for the kindergartners and first graders. I think it's just that. But when he was little, I could open my front door and could hear Isaac. I know he's so quiet now, but it's so loud on the playground. But I could recognize his voice all the way across. It was like a block away, but it's a straight shot though, and I could pick out his voice. I'm like, oh, Isaac's at recess right now, and pick out his voice from that far away. Because that's my child, that's my son. I love him, I have committed myself to him, and my cat too. I love him more, but so no, a lot more. But that's what, when Jesus, when we call out, I gotta tell one word. Can I tell a Sonia story? No. It's actually more of a me story. Yeah. We were just driving down the street with a couple of the youth, and I pulled, and a car was coming one car stopped, and it looked clear, but another car was racing down pretty fast, but I just stepped on the gas and made the turn, and I hear from the back saying, Jesus! All the other youth were kind of frozen, and it wasn't that close though. I don't know why they were so dramatic. Well, of course I didn't worry because I was in charge. I had the wheel, I had the pedals, I could do. But being helpless in the back, but her first reaction was, Jesus! It's like it's loud. And you know what? That's what Jesus wants us to do. He is in control. He's the one at the wheel. He's the one that says, I'm the one that's in charge of you. I'm the one that wants to guide you and protect you and take care of you. I am your shepherd to lead you and guide you where? And just call out to me. I know your voice. I know who you am. I know who you are. I know what you need ahead of before you even know you need it. I already know where I need you to go. I know what you need to get there. I know what you need to experience all my blessings. I know everything ahead of time, long before, far into the future that we can't even imagine. We pull everything down into these, this earthly time. And like a year is such a long time to wait for. But to God, He's been planning your life for eternity. He has known you already for eternity. He knows exactly what you consider your weaknesses, but to Him, in His hands, they're strengths. He knows if we just lay our life, if we just call out to Him, and we follow His voice, because He wants us to know Him the same way. He knows when we call out Jesus, He already knew exactly what we need. I think God already had that car protected. We were going to be fine. I feel it. But He wants us to know Him in the same way. When He wants to guide us, when He says, hey, this way. I don't know, God, I think there's a scripture I love that says, some He loves into the kingdom, and some He snatches from the very pits of hell. He does what He needs to do protect us and to get us to where we need to be. So, for me, a lot of times I feel like he kind of knocks me upside the head. It's like, Diana, what are you thinking? You know better than this. We've talked about this before, We've had these conversations. But for me to just recognize his voice and to talk and to, driving along in the car and you're just feeling God's presence and just kind of chatting with him. That's what he wants so desperately. It's not like I have to, we need to get to church. God talks about coming to church, but you don't just meet him here at the altar. He's with you everywhere you go. He wants you to hear his voice as you're walking down the street, or when you're getting ready for work in the morning, or when you're coming here, to come to church. He's got a song comes on the radio. I have something to show you. One of the most powerful messages that he ever showed, I don't know if I should admit this in church, but anyway, that he used to show me about reaching the lost, was at the end of Titanic. So like when the boats are, all the rescue boats have left the Titanic, and some of the people are saved, and people are calling out, please come back and get me. And they're desperate to be saved, and there's all these safe people in these boats. And God used that to say, you have got to go back. You cannot sit in safety. You have to go and reach those people. And he can use anything at any time. And that has always been a powerful image and message that God has had for my life. He's shown me that like maybe 15, 20 years ago, whenever that movie came out, long time ago. But be open to hearing his voice and to knowing his voice so that he can speak to you and direct you and show you, because he does have a perfect plan for your life. He has a perfect direction for your life. So, we can go with it. So he goes on in verse 17. This is my favorite. Actually, let me go back. Let me point out one thing before we leave this thing. You see, I underlined the word must. It says, I have other sheep too that are not in the sheepfold. I must bring them also. Do you realize how desperate he is for you? He's desperate for you. He was desperate for you before you came to know him, and he still is desperate for you to know him more and more every day. He's desperate for those people in your family that don't know him yet. It's the purpose and reason he came, that he left that heaven. So never give up. Don't worry about the time. God's got his timing. We just need to follow what he has to say. But he is desperate to help you. He's desperate to be with you. He must do it. That's a word that was chosen on purpose. He didn't say, I'd like to. Man, I'm really going to try to have them come. I'm going to, do it. He said, I must do it. I must have them. We must be one flock with one shepherd. He wants all to be saved. He wants all of you to experience his blessings. All of us. Every single person. And he's desperate to do it. And obviously he would do anything. He is our good shepherd. He left his home in heaven to come down to do it. To be there for you. So, but none of this matters until we get to 17. Because without this, it's all kind of wishful thinking as I see it. So we say in John 10:17 through 18, the Father loves me because I sacrificed my life, so I may take it back again. No one can take my life from me. I sacrifice it voluntarily. For I have the authority to lay it down when I want to, and also to take it back up again. This is the key, the word authority. He has the authority and power to do everything that he has promised to do. Because otherwise, how many promises have not been kept in your life? How many people, or you thought they should do something and they didn't do it, or they promised, oh, one day we'll do this, or oh yeah, sure, blah, blah, blah. But when Jesus says it, he can do it. He said he must do it. We already have that word. He must do it. But he has all power and authority behind every single thing that he says to make it happen for us. This is not just, he has not the authority just to say, oh, I'm going to help you, and oh, I'll be your shepherd, and just kind of, oh, it'll be okay. He said, no, I'm going to take out the people against you. I'm going to take out the dangers. I'm going to wield my little staff and do what I need to do. I am going to lead you to the place actually, I must lead you to these blessings and places. I must protect you. I must do these things for you. I just must do them. He has the power to, he willingly laid down his life, but he could take it right back up again. He has the power over life and death and sin and disease and depression and everything else that comes our way. Can't think of the word that I'm like. I know, sorry, my little dyslexic brain sometimes loses words, but even our doubt. Even when we say, I don't know, I'm not sure. I don't know about this. I understand that he loves me. I understand that he wants to take care of me. He loves the world. He loves everybody. But do you know that he loves you? Like you. By name. By purpose. By direction. That he knows you. He knows what you're going through. He knows what you're thinking. You're not fooling him in any way, coming and just smiling and saying everything's great. He knows our doubts. He knows our fears. He knows all those things. And he says, I love you. You're the one I sacrificed for. I know that. I know where you're at. But that's why I must have you near me. I must have you. I'm desperate to have you with me. And I can do anything. You can rely on me because I have the power and authority. And so much that, it's why the Father just loves him so much, it says. The Father loves me because I have sacrificed my life. I have left heaven. I have lived this life for them. I have going to lay my life on a cross and come back to life because I'm doing that because I must have you. Not just them, I must have you. And at the very end, actually, verse 19, this is where it all comes down to. Remember, he's been talking to the religious people for all this time. They have questioned him. They have tried to trap him. He has told them, I'm the one. I'm the one you've been waiting for. These are people who have been waiting thousands of years for the Messiah to come. And here he is literally standing in front of them. And it comes down to, it says, after he said, he had to go away. Several times they tried to stone him even during this time, but he obviously kept getting away. And he left them, and he says in verse 19, it says, when he said these things, the people were again divided in their opinions about them. It comes down to all of these things. This is what God is offering. This is what Jesus has done. He says, I want to do all these things. I must do these things for you. But it comes down to what our decision is. Do I believe that he would sacrifice for me? Do I believe that he really knows me and still loves me? Doesn't he understand all the things that people have been saying about me all my life, that I just wasn't worth anything? Do I believe, though, that Jesus says you are more than worth it? You are worth me leaving heaven over. You are worth me laying down my life for you. And do you believe that he has the power and authority to do the things that he says that he's going to do? And that's where we have to decide, where we have to think, is Jesus really the Jesus he said he was? Is Jesus really this good shepherd that wants to do all these things for us? Who is desperate for you? Is he desperate for me? Do I really feel that? Am I worth that? And I know the answer is yes. God has said the answer is yes, but you have to make that decision for yourself. Some said that he is the Messiah, but others said, I think he's demon-possessed. We can talk about opposites. At the first song that we sang today, what was it? I always have to think about what it's called. The font, what is it? Oh, come thou font of every blessing. There's a verse in that says, Jesus sought me when I was a stranger, wandering from the fold of God. He to rescue me from danger interposed his precious blood. He is seeking you. Whatever your situation is, wherever your need is, if you are desperate for a loved one to be saved, if you're desperate for yourself to be saved, if you're desperate to be healed from the pains of your life, are you desperate to believe what God has said about you? But it's so hard. Are you desperate to be healed? Are you desperate in your finances? Because he's desperate to help you. He wants to so badly. He must do it for you. So I just want to we have a wonderful prayer team that I would love just to have come, if you're on that prayer team. And Roger's going to play, Come Thou Font of every blessing that God has for you. Yeah, just come. Yeah, just come on up, grab the oil. And if you have a need, we're gonna end this here. Come up and let us pray for you, or pray for one another. What do you need God to do? What blessing have you been waiting for? What prayer have you asked that has not come true? And I just want you to feel free to, if you would like that prayer to come up, I'm just going to say a prayer real quick and then you guys can come up. Dear Father, I can't thank you enough. I can't show enough gratitude for you to so desperately want us, Lord, to be with you. There's nothing that we have done, nothing we can do to deserve to be with you, Lord, to be your children. It's not on our merit, it's not on our worth, it's not on anything that we could do, Lord. It's because we are your children, we are your sheep, that you love us, and you have committed to taking care of us and to love us and to direct us and to lead us to these good pastures, Lord. Father, I just pray that you would just open our hearts, Father, open our ears so that we know your voice, that we can be directed. Father, that we would just entrust our lives into your care. As a sheep is to a shepherd, Lord, I pray that we would just abandon ourselves and our control of our lives and our situations to you, Lord. Because only you know where we should go. Only you know how to fix or to intercede in these situations that we have in our lives, God. Father, we just lay every single one at your feet. All our finances, all of our bodies, our lives, our families, our emotions, our doubts, we just put it all into your hands, Lord. Never to be taken